Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to Championship Predictions for the penultimate week of the season. Sophie, next week is the last week.
Yeah, and I've been saying it week on week. It's just intensifying each week, and that relegation battle, the top two battle, it's just insane.
It's been a brilliant season and there's still so much to play for. So this week's predictions is a big one. Guys, before we get into it, let's go for some big support on this video. 2,000 likes. Come on, we can do it on a Championship Predictions video. If every single one of you hits the like button, we can do it. It's free to do, so please do support us if you watch the Championship Predictions videos. Make sure as well that you are subscribed. It does just take 2 seconds. And if you watch our videos but haven't hit the subscribe button yet, make sure to do so, as it will do us a massive favour and it's free to do. The scores, Sophie, it's not going too well for you in the Championship, but as I always say, in the Premier League you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I know this is Championship Predictions, so I think we'll just brush over the scores.
Let's get into the Championship game, Sophie, and let's start with a corker on Friday night as Queen's Park Rangers host Leeds United. Both teams still have a lot to play for. QPR, they got a big win against Preston last time. I backed them to win 1-0 and they won 1-0. It was a huge result and it's put them up to 50 points, which I think should be enough, but they won't be guaranteed safety going into next week if they lose this game, because Birmingham playing Huddersfield means one of those will pick up points. So QPR need a result to get the job done, or to just, make their fans feel a bit more safe going into next week, because there is that possibility that they could still go down. As for Leeds United, Sophie, what a win against Middlesbrough, 4-3. And do you know what? Our tactic worked last week. For the first time ever this season, we didn't back them to win and they won. So do we go with the same logic? I don't think I can. I think because Leeds United have got to win this, I'm going to back them to win, even though I might have cursed them by saying that.
Yeah.
They've got to put the pressure on Ipswich, because after they've played this, Ipswich will then have 2 games in hand on them, and Leeds really need to open the gap up a bit more over them. So both teams have a lot to play for. Leeds United probably a bit more desperate for the win. I'm going to go QPR 0, Leeds 1.
Okay, so you're going for quite a close game, and I can see why, because right now QPR aren't in bad form, are they?
No.
They're in pretty good form, which is coming at the right time, to be honest. But as you say, Leeds really need a win if they want to finish in that second spot, because I think first spot is pretty much done and dusted now. I know technically it's not, but seems to be. So it's a straight shootout between them and Ipswich for that second spot. They need the win. I don't see it being easy, but I see them getting it over the line. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Leeds.
2-1 to Leeds, yeah. By hook or by crook, they need the 3 points. Their goal difference is already very strong. And of course, we must highlight that if QPR win this game on Friday night, then Leicester City are promoted. So there you go.
Okay.
On to the next one, Sophie. Let's go to Ewood Park. I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to this. It's Blackburn Rovers versus Coventry City. Now, let's start with Coventry, Soph. Do you know what? Against Manchester United, it was an incredible effort. Very, very unfortunate not to be in the final. I mean, people are saying we're robbed. I think, but there's a valid case.
There is.
They've drawn the line over Wan-Bissaka's foot.
Yeah.
That said, we still lost on penalties, and then we lost on Wednesday night to Hull City, in which was a game that both had to win, and Coventry are pretty much out. Mathematically, we could still make the playoffs if everything went our way, but it hangs by the thinnest of threads. Meanwhile, Blackburn have a lot to play for. They got that incredible win against Leeds United, but they undid all their hard work by losing at home to Sheffield Wednesday, and there was a comical own goal we need to mention as well. That said, I think Blackburn are going to be up for this. Coventry they're conceding goals for fun at the moment. And as much as it pains me to say this, Blackburn 3-1. Honestly.
3?
I know we've
conceded 3, but I don't know.
We conceded 3 against Hull, 3 against Man United, 3 against Birmingham. We're conceding 3. They've got the top scorer in the league.
They've got Schmodix, and I think it's going to be a couple of goals. But
I think Schmodix will enjoy himself if the Coventry players aren't up to it. So as much as it pains me to say that, I think that's it, 3-1.
Oh, that one hurts. I do actually see us losing. I don't know why I'm smiling when I say that, but right now it just seems like, because it's so unlikely we'll finish in the top 6, I don't know whether Robinson's going to rest a few more players. I'd like it if he didn't put the youngsters out and he did actually try and go for it, but I can see a few players being rested because they're going to be knackered. Blackburn right now, they're fighting, and we've seen when we played Birmingham a few weeks back, when a team is really fighting, coming up against a team that isn't, you get done by them. And I think that could happen again. As you've mentioned, Schmodix is a great player. I can see him getting a couple against us, possibly gifted to him, but either way, I see them doing it. I'm going to say 2-1.
Yeah. I just hope that, obviously I hope Coventry win, but I don't know. I think it's all kind of folded in on itself. It's 5 defeats in the last 6 in all competitions for Coventry. So we're conceding goals for fun, and I think at this point now I just want to get to the summer and start again next year. On to the next one, Sophie. 2 teams that have already had their fate sealed. It's Bristol City and Rotherham United. Both Bristol City and Rotherham got decent draws against teams that had a lot to play for last week. Bristol City went to Norwich and got a 1-1, which was a result I was happy with at the time, but Coventry have blown it for themselves to make the playoffs now. But fair play to Bristol City, they've had some decent results lately. As for Rotherham, Sophie, a Steve Evans masterclass as they ground out a 0-0 against Birmingham. I think Steve Evans will bring them up next year.
Well, I think it didn't really matter who was in charge. I was pretty confident that they'll come back up. But yeah, Steve Evans, I was a bit shocked he went there, actually, because he seemed to be doing a good job with Stevenage. But I think you're right. I think he will bring them back up next year. Yeah,
well, I think he's got more potential of coming up with Rotherham than Stevenage, because Stevenage can't make the playoffs this year, and Rotherham will have better resources going into next year. That said, I'm backing Rotherham to lose this week. Bristol City have really impressed me, so I'm going to go for a 2-0 Robins win.
Yeah, do you know what? Probably before Steve Evans was brought in, I might have said maybe 4-0, because you always feel like Rotherham like to concede for fun. And when Bristol City turn up, they're a really good team. The thing is, this season they've been quite inconsistent, so that's why they're finishing where they're finishing. Saying that, I do think they'll win. And what did you say, 2-0? Yeah, I agree with your scoreline, actually. That's all I can see, really. I can't not see a Bristol City win.
Yeah, there you go. Both going 2-0 to the Robins. I wouldn't be surprised if Rotherham got something. And Bristol City do tend to play better against the better teams, and Rotherham aren't one of the better teams.
True.
On to the next one. Let's go to Cardiff City versus Middlesbrough. It's 2 teams on the beach, getting ready for Championship life again next season. 2 teams that have been in the Championship for quite a few years now, it feels, doesn't it? It feels like they've both been in the Championship for a little while. I think if you compare the 2 teams' seasons and my expectations for them at the start of the season, Cardiff, in my opinion, overperforming, I guess, because I thought they wouldn't do so well. But no, it's been a good season, so credit to them. Middlesbrough maybe underperformed from my predictions. I thought they'd be in the playoffs again.
Yes.
They've come up short. But really, I don't think there's going to be a lot to separate them in this one. Cardiff have the home advantage, got a great result against Southampton. Middlesbrough, they nearly got something against Leeds. It was a pretty bonkers game. I'm going to go for a share of the spoils, 2-2.
Okay, yeah, I can see why you're backing a draw, because it seems like both seasons are over now. But I am going to edge Middlesbrough. I think for Middlesbrough, similarly to Cov, all eyes on next season now and push for top 6, top 2, ideally. But you never know. I think, yeah, they're going to be looking towards next season. But I still think they'll get the win. I think they'll just edge this one, 2-1.
Oh, there you go, leaning towards Middlesbrough on that one. Share your thoughts, guys, on Cardiff City versus Middlesbrough. It's a game of beach ball. It's on the beach, isn't it? On to the next one, where it's certainly not a game of beach ball. It's a big one. It's Huddersfield Town versus Birmingham City. So this is huge. So the context coming into it, Huddersfield are relegated if they lose this. If they draw, it's not really going to do them many favours either, because they'll stay in the bottom 3 and they're away at Ipswich on the final day. So they really need to win, and even then it looks very much an uphill challenge. But if they win, they've got a chance. Last week, I've got to be honest, I was a bit disappointed by both teams.
Yeah.
Birmingham drawing 0-0 at Rotherham is one thing. Huddersfield losing at home to Swansea 4-0 when they're fighting for their lives is another thing. I think that was honestly terrible. I mean,
yeah, it was. It was gutless, to be honest.
I understand that teams that don't have much to play for can still beat teams that have got something to play for. If Swansea had won 1-0, I wouldn't have been too surprised maybe, but 4-0.
Yeah.
Huddersfield have the ability to capitulate. Now, they've got to be up for this, because this is their season in a game. They've got to save their season here. It's a big game for both. Birmingham have Norwich at home on the final day, so that's not easy. Both ideally need to win. Huddersfield really need to win.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think it could be really low scoring and cagey. I think I'm going to go with Blues. I think Blues nick 1, Huddersfield attack, Blues nick a second. I'm going to go Huddersfield 0, Blues 2.
Okay. This one's really hard to call because, as you say, I think it's going to be really cagey. I think both teams will set up not to lose because it'd be disaster for both. More so for Huddersfield if they lose. As you said, they'd be confirmed relegated. But I still feel like Blues won't want to lose this one. Oof. I'm going to go 0-0. Yeah, it doesn't really suit either team and it's just going to drag it out. But yeah, I'm just struggling to separate them. Yeah,
slightly better for Birmingham, that. It's a can of worms here for Birmingham if they lose. They won't be mathematically relegated, but they'll be in all sorts of trouble if they lose this. It's horrible. I'd hate to be a fan of either of those teams. Mm-hmm. We wish you all the best. Obviously, not both of you can win. We'll see what happens. On to the next one, Soph. Let's go to the Den, where Millwall take on Plymouth Argyle. Now, fair play to Millwall. They have secured their safety. A great 1-0 win at Sunderland last time. And Neil Harris has had the desired effect. He's kept them up.
Yeah, do you know what? That was a great appointment at the right time. Because you don't want to leave it too late and think, oh, now we've got to win. Whereas they needed a few good performances. They did it. I never really thought they were going to go down, to be honest with you, but you never know. And the performances they've been putting in recently, very good.
Yeah. They take on Plymouth, Sophie, who are not safe yet. And if I was a Plymouth fan, I'd be a bit nervous here because Huddersfield playing Birmingham, at least one of them is going to get some points. So the gap will close and Plymouth they need to win, really. I think a win and they're safe. They won't be mathematically safe necessarily, but I think a win and they will be. A draw nearly takes them there. It maybe means a draw on the final day as well would be enough. I think obviously Plymouth have got more to play for, but I just don't think Mill will roll over here. I'm gonna go for a share of the spoils though.
Okay.
Plymouth have got to make sure they don't lose it at least. 1-1.
Do you know what? I'm going to go for a trusty Millwall 1-0 win again. Oh. I know they've got nothing to play for right now, but it doesn't seem to be stopping them.
Well,
and Plymouth really do, so maybe that's going to be a lot of pressure. They need to put in a good performance. They need to get something from this game. But I'm not going to back it. Millwall 1-0.
Oh dear. So do you think Plymouth might go down, or do you still think...
Well, there's a chance, yeah.
Yeah, they're at home on the final day, which is something.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. I hope Plymouth stay up. I like Plymouth, but it's close.
Everyone can't stay up. No, that's the thing. Yeah. You don't really want anyone to go down.
Someone's got to go. On to the next one, Soph. It's at Carrow Road. It's Norwich City versus Swansea City. Now, of course, Norwich City just need a few more points to wrap up their playoff place. Hull City are on their tails, and if there's any optimistic Coventry fans still out there, we need Swansea to win this, but I don't really see it. That said, Swansea got that great win against Huddersfield last week, and do you know what? I think this could be a draw. I know that will still end Coventry's chances. I'm not thinking about Coventry here. I'm just thinking last week Norwich surprised me by dropping points to Bristol City, and maybe they've come a little bit unstuck in this one. Swansea played well recently. 1-1.
Oh, okay. I actually feel like the pressure's slightly off Norwich now, to be honest. They've still got Hull, but I feel like they could finish fifth. And I think they're going to win this one. I think they get back to winning ways 2-0.
Oh.
2-0 Norwich, yeah.
There you go. They've definitely got more to play for.
Yeah, and you don't know with Swansea, as you said, because I didn't back them to win 4-0 against Huddersfield, and they did that. So maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on them, but I just see Norwich doing it.
No, that's fair enough. Each to their own. I just think Swansea really did impress me last week.
Yeah.
On to the next one, which is a massive game for both teams. It's Sheffield Wednesday versus West Bromwich Albion. Oof.
Ooh.
Sophie, what have I said about Wednesday all season?
They're staying up.
Where are they now?
Above the relegation zone.
They are above the bottom three, and it's in their hands.
It is.
It's in their hands.
And that's what you want as well when you're down there. You don't want to be relying on other teams. So, and you know what? The way they're playing as well, you want it to be in their hands.
Exactly that. Now, here's a big thing. Because Huddersfield are playing Birmingham, if Sheffield Wednesday lose this, they're guaranteed to go back into the bottom three going into next week, because one of Huddersfield or Birmingham will overtake them. You can look at it as that game's, a dangerous one because one of Huddersfield or Birmingham are going to get some points, but they can't both get some points is another way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So long as Sheffield Wednesday concentrate on what they're doing, they'll continue to climb away, and maybe just one more win will do it. It won't mathematically do it this week, but I think one more win and they might just be okay. West Brom, they've got a lot to play for still. They've not wrapped up their playoff place. They've lost their last 2 games. They did play really well at Leicester. I thought they were unlucky not to get something. But Sheffield Wednesday, so if they're going to pack out Hillsborough for the last home game, and I'm backing them again. 2-1 to the Owls.
Do you know, I was going to say, you can't not back them now. After saying they're going to stay up all season long, you couldn't back them to then lose. And you know what? I agree with you. I think West Brom seem to be faltering at the deaf ear, and there is a chance that they could drop out of the playoffs. There still is a chance. It's slim, but I don't know. The form they're in right now isn't good, and I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to back Sheffield Wednesday 2-1.
Ooh.
I see them doing it.
Yeah, well, it's a massive game for both. Maybe Wednesday need the win a bit more, because you look at West Brom, they've got Preston at home on the final day, and so long as they win that, they should be alright anyway. So there you go. On to the next one. Let's go to St Mary's, Sophie, where it is Southampton versus Stoke City. Now, Southampton, they can't make the top 2 anymore. Mathematically, it's not actually over right now, but as long as Leeds don't lose to QPR, it is. The goal difference would need a massive swing as well. They take on Stoke, Sophie, who are not safe just yet, but nearly are. They're up to 50 points now. Great 3-0 win against Plymouth last week, and I've been a bit unsure about Stoke this season. I have worried that they might go down, but I think they're going to be all right now, and I'm going to back them to get a point here, which takes them over the line for me. I think Southampton will now be in preparation mode for the playoffs. You can look at that as a good or a bad thing. They might not be too sharp going into the playoffs because they've now got a couple of games where they don't really mean anything to them. But so long as they can, keep players fit, I think Southampton have got a good chance in the playoffs. But I'm going to go for a draw here. Stoke to get a 1-1.
Yeah, as much as I'm going to say I think Southampton have a good chance in the playoffs, I think momentum going into the playoffs is key, and I think they're going to lose against Stoke.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm actually going to back Stoke to win 2-1, which I think is going to be a little bit of an upset, but I can just see Stoke doing it right now, because they've got to fight. I do think they're going to be safe. Southampton, they may get a little bit complacent. I don't know if they're going to rest players or not, but I don't advise that really when you need to have momentum going into the playoffs, but yeah, I actually just see Stoke doing this one.
Yeah, I don't think that's impossible. Stoke are very up and down, so if they're up, they'll win this. Yeah, I agree.
But then equally, it could be like Southampton 4-0.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, why did I back Stoke? So
I completely agree with that as well. Okay, on to the next one, Soph. It's another game of beach ball. It doesn't really mean anything. It's Watford versus Sunderland. I do think it still could be an interesting game. Watford have really impressed me with Tom Cleverley, although they've not really been winning. They just keep drawing. But they're drawing to top teams.
It is good draws. As much as that sounds weird, it is good draws,
They've been playing almost all of the top teams that have all got lots to play for, so credit to them. I think, they could be a real threat to the top 6 next season. Sunderland will also be hoping to be a threat to the top 6 next season after a pretty strange season.
Underwhelming, I'd say.
And they're on autopilot. That said, do you know what? I might back them to get a draw here, seeing as it's Watford, who are handing out draws to everyone. I'll make Watford favourites for this, but I'm going to go with Sunderland to bounce back from the defeat to Millwall with a 1-1 draw.
Okay, I think it's going to be back-to-back defeats for Sunderland. I'm going to back Watford 2-0.
Oh.
I think it depends which team from Sunderland turn up, to be honest, because sometimes they can put in a really good performance. You're like, there's the Sunderland from last season.
Yeah.
Then at other points you're like, and this is why you are where you are this season. Watford, as we've said, they've been good at parts. Not amazing, but they've definitely got that potential there. Like when you watch them sometimes you're like, there is a good team there.
There is, yeah.
And as you say, I think next season they could have a good season. But right now I'm going to back them to win 2-0.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, I personally think they're favourites, but when you get to this stage of the season and teams have not got a lot to play for, anything could happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't be surprised if Sunderland turn up, to be honest. On to the next one, Soph. This is massive. It's Hull City versus Ipswich Town. Let's start with Hull, Sophie, because Hull got the win in the big matchup against Coventry, which was winner is going to have a chance of making the playoffs, and they won it. It was a back and forth game. I thought Coventry played well in the second half. I thought Hull played well in the first half. Ultimately, they took their chances, and I've watched them quite a bit this season and thought they are a decent team. Yes. I really like the attacking players. I really like Philogene and Carvalho. I like some of the defenders as well. I thought Allsop's a decent keeper. I think they might be able to beat Ipswich. Ipswich have had a 2-week break, and as good as they've been this season, Have they just hit a bit of a bump in the road at the wrong time?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe, but they've also had a 2-week break, so they might come into this fresh and think we've got 3 games to win promotion, because it's in their hands, really. Now, I must say, context is key here, because we're recording this on Thursday, but on Friday before this game, QPR will have played Leeds, and I think that has a massive bearing on this one.
Yeah.
If QPR can just not lose to Leeds, even if it's a draw, Ipswich Town will think, oh my gosh, it's there for us.
Yeah, it's
there for us. But if Leeds win, I just wonder if the pressure really will be on Ipswich, and does it get to them maybe? I'm going to go for Hull to win this, so I think the home advantage and the form is maybe just making me lean towards them. Hull 2-1.
Oh, wow. That'd be a massive result, wouldn't it? I'm actually going to be a fence sitter here. I'm going to say there's going to be a few goals, but for me it's going to be a Desmond 2-2. I just don't want to pick either side here. So, yes, I will sit on the fence and I'll enjoy my splinters, but 2-2 for me.
I like that. Yeah, both teams have got to win this, though.
Yeah, it's a massive game for both. It is a must-win. That's why, like I said earlier, I can see it cancelling teams out.
Yeah, I mean, Hull and Ipswich have both got to be thinking, we've got to win the rest of our games now to do what we need to do. But right now, it is in Ipswich's hands to get top 2. So if they win 3 out of 3, they are up, which is incredible. On to the next one, Sophie, where we could see our first promotion of the season. We go to Preston North End versus Leicester City. Now, like I said, if Leeds lose to QPR, then Leicester are up anyway. But if not, it's only going to delay the inevitable, because I think Leicester City win here at Deepdale. I could go really heavy here, because I think Leicester City have bounced back and now look to be at their best again. You know, that win against Southampton was so good. Preston, a bit strange, really. You know, kind of fizzled out, really.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where you're like, oh, they're in the playoff race, and then it was almost like on themselves. They just thought, nah, we don't want it, actually.
I think it was the defeat to Norwich that's blown it. Because they lost to QPR last week as well now. They can't mathematically make it anymore. I'm going to go for Leicester. Pretty routine promotion here. 2-0.
Yeah, I'm going to add another goal purely because Fatawu, I mean, I've said it before, he is some player, but that performance against Southampton was just unreal. And I think he could put in another good performance here. I'm going to say, 3-0. I can see it being quite heavy, again, in Leicester's favour. They found their feet right at the end. Just when you're thinking, are they bottling it? Like, how have they done that after such a big lead? And now, they've found their form again, and I think they're doing it, and they'll finish top for me.
There you go. Share your thoughts, guys. That would see Leicester City promoted. I just can't see a way in which they don't do it now, but it'd be very typical of the Championship. The final game is one we'll quickly mention. It's a catch-up game from next week. It's Coventry City versus Ipswich Town. Now, based on our predictions, Sophie, we don't think Coventry will have any chance of the playoffs by the time this game comes around. That said, do you know what? It could be once Coventry can't make the playoffs anymore that they start turning up again.
Yeah.
But Ipswich are going to have so much to play for. I'm just going to punish Coventry twice in this video. Coventry 1, Ipswich 2. I mean, I just wonder, has the FA Cup really derailed our league season? All of these games back to back, we look exhausted. We're conceding goals for fun. Sorry, I'm feeling very pessimistic right now.
No, so am I, and I feel like I should go for a draw just to kind of balance it out. But I just remember how we played at their place and the manner in which they won, and I feel like it could be the same again. I genuinely could see them turning us over at points, like the way we play. But then equally, we are good at coming back into games, but it's just so frustrating. Like, we let teams almost walk away with it before we start playing. No, do you know, I can't back us to lose twice in one video. I'm going to go for a Desmond. I'm going to say 2-2. I can see there being a few goals, but I just can't do it to my team. That is bias, but it's hard as well because Ipswich, we don't know like their previous games and like what they're fighting for, but obviously we know they need to win. Coventry, we don't know for certain, but almost certain that a win wouldn't do anything for us. So.
It could be that Ipswich Town get promoted at the CBS.
Yeah.
Depending on the results this weekend.
And what a season that is as well, by the way. I will just add that. It's just remarkable.
Unbelievable. There you go, guys. That wraps up our Championship predictions for the penultimate week of the season. Make sure to get your Championship predictions down in the comments. It's been a marathon and we've still got another week to come, and then we've got the playoffs, of course. I've really enjoyed it. I don't know about you.
This season has just been not personally for our team, because we've not been as good as last season, but as a whole it's just been so interesting.
Yeah, it's been really bonkers and there's still so much to play for. Like I say, share your predictions. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like. It's free to do. We're going for 2,000 likes, so please make sure to get involved and make sure to subscribe as well. It's free to do that and you'll see all of our videos when they go out. We've got Premier League predictions coming later today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Peace out.